had Lynn on from California. So I used to go down there every 4 to 6 weeks and would do this training when I would go down there. And when I would go down there, I would do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it was just me. Like I this week I've had Jason to trade off with. And I got to where, well, always by Thursday afternoon, like I was tired after, because I would do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 9 until 3 or 4 every day. And I got to where I could do pretty good, where I wasn't too tired until Thursday afternoon. But I'm noticing today I'm pretty tired already, and Jason's done half or more of the classes. I'm out of practice, I guess is what I'm saying. So anyway, okay, any questions from what we talked about this morning before I jump into this afternoon stuff?
So how do you wrap it up when you
Yeah.
do your presentation?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, good. I was glad you asked because I was debating on like, do I get into that or not? And I decided if you guys didn't ask, I wasn't going to tell you. So
Good.
thanks for asking. Man, I told you guys on the first day, like you got to ask questions if you want the good stuff. So what typically I'm going to do is once I have gotten all 3 of their 2 or 3, however many there are, of their needs, then I'm going to say, okay, Anna, I got a good picture of what it is that you're looking for in a home. Let me tell you how I work. And then what I'm going to do is basically say to her, I'm going to go out and look at every home in the market in your price range, but I'm only going to go show you the homes that actually meet your needs. And so what that means is I'm going to go preview 30 to 40 properties to find 3 or 4 that I could go and show to you. And I'm willing to do that, provided that during the time we're working together, you'll commit to working exclusively with me. So basically the wrap up is asking them to sign the buyer broker. But it is very easy. If you have taken them through this process, getting them to sign a buyer broker is no problem because they feel heard and understood. And so as a result of that, so let me kind of give you the concept of that again. So the concept is, let me tell you how I work. And then I'm just saying, I'm going to go out and look at every home in the market in your price range, but I'm only going to show you the ones that meet your needs. And so I've found I usually have to look at 10 to find 1 that would work for you. So if we're going to go look at 3 or 4, I will have previewed 30 to 40. And I'm willing to do that, provided that you will commit to working exclusively with me. And then they'll say yes, and you go, great, I've got a document that states that, and then we just have them sign it. So the other thing that I will do as well to wrap it up is if it didn't come up during the process, I will ask them who have you talked to as far as like, well, let me back up. I will first say, are you planning on paying cash or getting a loan? And if they say I'm getting a loan, then I'll say, well, who have you talked to as far as that goes? And then if they have talked to somebody, great. If they haven't, then I'll usually recommend somebody from our mortgage company to help them with it. So really it's just finding out, are they paying cash or financing? And then let me tell you how I work is I'm gonna go out and look at all these properties, but I'm only gonna show you the ones that actually work. And I'm willing to do that as long as you'll commit to working with me. And they say, yes, great, let's get a document signed. And then from there, I'm gonna go find the houses and go out and show them. And when I show them, I'm gonna focus on the needs, those benefits, not the feature. So, make sense? What other questions?
So is this something you would like find out if they're pre-approved before you even went out on the appointment?
No.
Okay, I know that's a weird question, you wouldn't wanna ask them that, like probably.
Well, no, it's okay. I'm fine either way, but the reason I said no on that is a lot of times agents will say to me, well, I want to get them, I don't want to sit down and waste an hour of my time if they're not pre-approved. And my feeling on that is it's worth your time, especially as a newer agent, it's worth your time until there comes a point that maybe it's not. But the reason I feel like it's still worth your time is that person is gonna feel very committed to you.
Yeah.
So that when they do buy, you're gonna be it, but not just that. For me, And this segues into what we're gonna talk about now. For me, what I want though too is, as much as I want to help her buy a property, more than that, I want her to refer multiple people to me. So as important as it is for me to get a deal from her, more important than her deal is her referring other people to me. That's more important to me. And so to me, it's worth it to sit down and spend the time and then find out, oh, we can't qualify yet. Because if she still refers 3 people to me in the next year that I do deals with, I don't care that she didn't do a deal.
Right, okay, and so if you don't ask up front, and that's fine, I understand why, but do you, after you get to this point of, you know, to the end here, and you're going to ask for the buyer broker agreement, then does that you begin to ask
Yeah,
questions
for sure.
at that point? So
Yeah,
that's when that would be discussed.
Yep, that's what I'm gonna say. So you plan on paying cash or getting a loan? Getting a loan, great. Who have you talked to? And then if they have, get their approval letter. If they haven't, then I'll get them with one of ours, so. And even if they have, I still usually say, let me have you talk to my lender that I use as a backup. Because if I haven't used the lender they're referring to, they might be awesome. I might wanna use them forever after this transaction. But until then, I wanna make sure you're talking to somebody that I know. The advantage to having them using a lender that I know, and especially if it's one that's here in our office, is when you need an answer, I just walk over and, hey, what's going on? Versus calling another lender and leaving a message and calling and leaving a message and.
And you literally just walked across the hall.
I just literally walk across and be like, what's going on?
Especially if you're doing your presentation at the office.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times I'll do that if I'm doing it here at the office, is I'll even talk to the lender, whoever I'm using, and just say, hey, if you're around, it'd be great for you to come over and meet them and potentially even just, get them started on the loan app. Right there. So,
So everything's going great, they wanna work with you, pull out the buyer broker. How do you go about that conversation?
So for me, typically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just say, that let me tell you how I work, and so I'm committed to do that as long as you'll commit to working with me. Yep, great. Then from there, I usually go through, this is how I do it, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I always say to the person, I can either explain to you what it says, you can read the whole thing, or you can just sign it. Which would you prefer? And generally, they say, just tell me what it says. And so then from there, I just say to them, okay, what this agreement says is that I'm gonna be your agent, that if you buy a property, I'm gonna be the one representing you. And then I always just tell them the commission is gonna be 3% plus $295 that our company charges. And so I'm gonna do everything I can to get the seller to pay that on your behalf and should be able to get that worked out. But if not, then we'll have a discussion as to what we're gonna do on the commissions and just have.
Just kinda gotta put it out there front, I'm sorry, you go
Oh,
ahead. Yep, that was your original question.
So I was just curious if you kind of like went by section to explain what everything says, or if you just kind of go
So,
page by page.
Kind of depends on the person, but I usually do like on a listing appointment, same thing. I usually kind of just tell them this section. So like I'll just say this section says that if you buy a property in Salt Lake County or any county, however you do it for Utah, that I would be owed a commission. This one says the commission will be paid once we close, and that's where I would explain. I'm gonna ask them to pay it on your behalf, but this is where that is, and then I go down. This says that I'm trained in the marketing of real estate, that don't rely on it. Actually, the way I always say it, when I get to that I don't remember the exact order of the sections, but when I get to the section that says I'm trained in the marketing of real estate, I always say this section says don't trust anything I tell you. That's how I always say it, because then they usually are like, what? And I say, well, basically what it's saying is I'm trained in marketing. So if you ask me a question about like a property line or, electrical issues, I'm not that person, so don't rely on me. And I usually like to say that way of like, this says don't trust anything I tell you, because then when we're out at a property and they go, is that the property line right there? I always go, remember I said don't trust anything I tell you, but it looks like it. So, or it doesn't, or what. Like I usually will have fun with it when I do that, is always why I say this section says don't trust anything I tell you. But, and then same thing with the buyer or broker or the due diligence, So, but yeah, I usually kind of just hit the sections of, this says that if there's a dispute, we're gonna go to mediation first. This says that we're gonna, if we do end up in court, the prevailing party is entitled to return reasonable attorney's fees, and I just kind of go down,
Okay.
give them a brief overview, have them sign it. So, anyway, the one thing I will say, and this is probably because of something happened this week, as the principal broker, I get the phone call when people, like if they're talking to you and saying, I want out, and you're saying no or whatever, or sometimes they even bypass you and just call me directly and are saying, you know, I've got a contract with Anna and I don't want to work with her anymore, I want out of the contract. I'll always hang up and call Anna and say, hey, these people want out, what do you want me to do? And then it's kind of up to you. But I had one this week that the people called and said, we thought it was a one-day thing. We saw like October 25th or whatever the date was. And they said, and then we got home and looked at the contract and noticed it was October 25th of 2026. Like they signed, they committed us for a whole year and we didn't want to be a whole year. And I said, well, let me call and ask the agent. So I called and talked to the agent and the agent said, I don't care, let him go, doesn't matter, which I was surprised. Most of the time, the agents are saying to me, no, like, don't let him out. I personally am more of like, if somebody doesn't want to work with me,
And the relationship's kind of
yeah,
skewed from that point.
yeah, I'm just more, for me, more, now there are times though that I do feel like, no, I've done all this work and now you're wanting out, you know, because you found out your cousin's an agent. I'm not okay with that. So anyway, we deal with it, but anyway. I don't know how I got to that from, because I was just gonna say, make sure that the people do know how long it's for, you know, your time frame. So I would say at a minimum, go through and explain the commission and the length, at least for sure, you know, but.
I think that's kind of crazy that the buyer, because the seller generally pays the BAC. I think it's crazy that the buyer essentially gets services for free. It's kind of a,
Oh, we had a whole lawsuit about that.
but in essence, you know what I'm saying, like they're like the seller's paying for their services that they're doing, in essence. They're not out of pocketing anything, you know, as far as between, you know, generally, unless sometimes they gotta pick up the slack.
Yeah, good.
Left over amount, but generally it's the.
Yeah, and generally we don't, like, as far as that goes, like if you put 3% and the buyer or the seller's like, we'll only pay 2%, then I'm gonna leave it more up to you as the agent. Like, it's up to you. If you wanna go to your client and say, you gotta pay the 1%, I'll support you. But if you also said, we'll just do 2%, but it's kind of more your decision than ours. Now, with that being said, we're not gonna do it for free either, like, meaning there are times when I saw somebody wrote one that said, it'll be 3% and $5.95 or whatever the buyer or the seller will pay, and if the seller won't pay anything, we won't charge anything. And I called the agent and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, we're not doing this for free. Like if they're gonna do, I'm okay with, and this is something I always did, is I always told clients that if I can't get it negotiated, then I would like for example, a for sale by owner. I'd say, if you see a for sale by owner, call me, because I can probably negotiate and get them to pay my commission. But if I can't, then I'll let you out of the contract and you can go buy with them. Like, I'm not gonna represent them for free, I'll let them go. And that's what I would say is, to me, if that's, as far as from a company standpoint, I would rather, if you're gonna charge 0 to a client, now there could be circumstances that it makes sense, but if you're gonna charge 0 to a client, I would just assume our brokerage not be involved at all, because we still carry all the liability, even if we got paid nothing. So, anyway. All right, so we're gonna go through and we're gonna talk about sphere of influence now. This, okay, remember I always have something that I'm like, if you don't remember anything else I taught you, so here's what I'm gonna say on this one. If you don't remember anything else we've talked about, if you don't remember any of the things that I told you on Moxie Engage and on set 1 appointment a day, and what was the whole point of the last class, I forget?
Crystallization.
Oh yeah, that was it, thanks. To cause crystallization, if you don't remember any of those, do what we're gonna talk about now, the whole thing. Because what I will tell you is what we're gonna talk about next in working your sphere of influence, it will work. It is 100% guaranteed to work because here's why. It's a math problem. This is not working your sphere of influence is not a people problem, it's a math problem. And I'm going to show you what that looks like, but it is guaranteed to work because it's a math problem. Now, it involves people, but it's a math problem. But before we get to that, I first want to cover a couple of other things first. So, we're going to talk about what makes someone a client. So, before you answer, which I'm going to have you answer, what makes someone a client? Now, I know what you learned in real estate school that makes somebody a client, and that's going to be part of this, and we're not changing what you learned in school. Like, that's still part of it. But what I want to talk about here is there are 4 things that have to happen for somebody to be a client. And so when we talk about somebody being a client, I'm talking about you getting paid, okay? And so I want to make sure that you're clear on this, like what that you learned in real estate school still applies, and it's going to be somewhat incorporated into this. But don't think like real estate school right now, although part of it is here. What would a client have, be, or do in order for you to say, I got a client? In fact, sometimes I will even ask people who thinks they have a client and have you like hold up how many fingers on your hand that you think you have in terms of clients. I'm not going to do that today, but what would somebody have, be, or do in order to be a client?
Have an agreement?
Okay, good. So,
Well, that's
for,
the real estate part you're talking about.
what?
Isn't that the real estate part you're talking about? Is having an
Uh-huh.
agreement, I figured.
So, here's what I'm gonna call it though. I'm gonna say, and if you're taking notes, write it down differently than what I'm right here. They have to be committed to working exclusively with you. Now, the way they demonstrate that is by signing the buyer broker. So that's the division piece that you learned in real estate school. So yes, in order for you to have a client though, they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. Now, so is it possible that somebody is committed to working exclusively with you, but they haven't signed an agreement? Is it possible somebody has signed an agreement and they're not committed to working exclusively with you? Yeah. So the key piece of this is they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. Now, the way they demonstrate it is by signing that agreement. But just the signing of the agreement does not, for the sake of what I'm talking about, for the division, it makes them a client. For the sake of what I'm talking about, doesn't just because they signed the agreement doesn't mean they are a client, for my definition, not the state's. State says yes, okay? I want to make sure I'm clear on that. But for me, it's just they have to be committed to working exclusively with you. Okay, good. What else? And each one gets harder to think of, by the way. But usually somebody can get number 2. Once we get to 3 and 4, sometimes I have to help. 4, I always have to help, but no
You
pressure.
have to want something,
Okay, good.
wanna buy or wanna sell.
Perfect. I'm gonna write it down as need. Here's how I would say for you, if you're keeping notes, here's how you wanna write it down. Is they have clear and present needs that can be met. So in order for you to have a client, they have to have clear and present needs that can be met. So clear and present needs that can be met. What does that mean? Clear and present needs that can be met.
Moving for work.
Okay, could be, yeah. So here's how I would explain it. Clear, meaning like we just talked about the needs analysis, they have to know what the benefits are of why they're wanting to do this. So that's what clear and clear and present needs, meaning like they're clear and it's something they're wanting to do soon. That can be met means it's realistic. Like they aren't saying, well, yeah, if you find me like sometimes, especially with newer agents, I will tell them do not work with investors because in fact, I will tell you guys, sometimes some investors And my definition of investor is different than what you're thinking of. Like for you, that's great. But meaning like sometimes people will say an investor, like they're, hey, if you find a property that's like 50% of market value, like I'll buy it. Well, guess what? I will buy it. So if you guys find one like that, bring it to me. Don't take it to some other investor. I'll buy it. Like, so that's part of when I say don't work with investors. Now, if you have some that are realistic, like what Eli's got, where it's somebody like, hey, I want to buy a property, rent it out, and it's a realistic like investment type of a thing, that's great. But when it's like, hey, I'm looking for a property that I can buy it, fix it up and sell it and make $100,000, yeah, me too. So if you find one, I'm your buyer. You already have a buyer, just let me know. Sound good? Just so you know. All right. So that's what clear and present needs that can be met, is like they're realistic in what they're wanting to accomplish. Okay, good. What else? Any other thoughts? I'll probably have to start helping you a little bit here, but.
Funding, they're capable of the funds.
So I would throw that under clear and present needs that can be met, because meaning like they either can get the loan or they have the funds, so.
They can make decisions.
So I would put that there too, clear and present needs that can be met, meaning, so the next one is now. They have to be committed to buying or selling now. When is now? What's the definition of now for you? What do you think?
This moment.
So right now, okay? For me, the definition of now isn't today, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. What it means to me on now is if they're committed to working exclusively with me and I find the property that meets their clear and present needs that can be met, they'll either write the offer, or if it's a seller, they'll accept the offer when it comes in. So I don't really care, like now doesn't have an exact time frame for me when I'm talking about this, but it's, if we find this property that meets your clear and present needs, you're gonna write the offer, not say, oh, that's great, now hopefully it's still for sale in 6 months. Like that's not now. Now to me is when we find it, so again, it could be a seller and it could be that now still could be okay of like, hey, we're gonna list it, but it might not sell for a month or two. That's okay, that's still now if they got an offer in that they would accept it. And then with a buyer, if we go find a property that meets your needs, you're gonna write the offer, not say, oh, perfect, now hopefully it's still there in 3 months. Like that's not now, okay? And then the last one is tethered. They have to be tethered. What does tethered mean? Okay, if you think about when you were in elementary school and you played tetherball.
Yeah, I know what tethered means.
Okay,
Just
so-
looking in the context you're trying to look for.
Okay, so, well, what, just in general, what does tethered mean?
It's tied to.
Yeah, tied to, okay? So good, so how would we have our client tied to us? Because it's not the buyer broker, because that's already up here. So how would we tie our client to us?
Relationship?
Close. It's through an appointment. So here's how I like to say it. You can't have a client if you don't have an appointment. So meaning, once you get a client, you should constantly have an appointment with them. Now, like with a seller, the appointment is, I'm gonna call you every Friday and talk to you at whatever time to give you an update or whatever. And for me, the other thing I like to do on a seller is to say, we're gonna evaluate the price once a month. Once a month, we're gonna get together, we're gonna talk about what's gone on, how many showings, how many offers, and then from there, we're gonna adjust however we need to. Which meaning, it might be stay the same price, it might be take the home off the market, or it might be to reduce the price or improve, however you wanna say it. But you can't have a client if you don't have an appointment. So if you've got a buyer, so we were just talking this morning about doing that buyer interview. If I've got a buyer, and so here's the other thing is, as far as the wrapping it up, Taylor, when you're asking, when I'm wrapping up my appointment with them, I also want to schedule the next appointment. So that's how I would say to think of it with a client is you should, whenever you finish an appointment with a client, schedule the next appointment. If you do that, you won't lose clients. Very rare that you're gonna lose a client if you constantly are setting appointments with them. Like I know of one agent that had a client, quote unquote, that client wanted out and the agent didn't want to let him out. And I decided we're gonna let him work with somebody else. Because within the brokerage, I can do that. And I don't know that the agent even knows that that's happened. My point being, I know they're not calling their client, which is why I did what I did, was I was like, you're not even working with them, so, and it's been months, like months since, and they haven't said a word, so I'm kinda like, that's where, to me, like you have fiduciary duties to your clients, and one of them is you gotta be staying in touch with, if you're not doing that, that's when I will, as the broker, let somebody out of an agreement, is if your client calls me and can show that you were not doing your fiduciary duties, like for example, one I had called and was like, we want out of the contract, and the agent said, I'm not letting them out. Client said to me, great, I'm gonna ask them to show me properties, and the agent lived here in Salt Lake. I'm gonna ask them to show me properties every day up in Ogden. I'm gonna make them drive to Ogden to show me properties every day, and I'm never gonna buy it. I'll never write an offer. But do you have a fiduciary duty to go show them if they? So, because we have obedience, so I was like, all right, well, I guess do that and see what happens. So, anyway, so that's what makes somebody a client. If you have somebody that is committed to working with you, they have clear and present needs that can be met, but they're not ready to do it now, you don't have a client. If you have somebody that is not committed to working exclusively with you, they have clear and present needs that can be met, they're ready to go now, but you don't have an appointment with them, you don't have a client. So for me, a client has all four of these things. Okay, next area is a prospect. So really, probably I would say it this way, is this tethered is more about how do you manage the clients, is through appointments, okay? A prospect is deficient in one or more of these. So a prospect is missing one or more of these. So if you had a client somebody who's committed to working exclusively with you, they have clear and present needs that can be met, they're ready to go now, but you don't have an appointment, I would say you still have a prospect, you don't have a client. Now again, just to cover my butt, from the state standpoint, you still have a client, okay? But from my perspective, you don't have a client, meaning you might not get paid from that person if you don't have an appointment. So in my mind, you have a prospect, not a client. Same thing if you have somebody that's not necessarily committed to working exclusively with you, but they have clear and present needs that can be met, they're committed to buying now, and I mean, appointment might kind of throw that out too. But then I would say you got a prospect. Because they're not committed to working exclusively with you, so you have a prospect, you're still trying to convert them. So think of it this way, prospects are becoming clients, or a prospect is becoming what we'll talk about over here, or you drop them. Okay? So if the way we manage a client is through appointments, how would we manage prospects? Because again, it might be that I have somebody that meets all this criteria but no appointment. So what should we do? How do we manage them? Because it's not appointments. Might be to get one, if that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah.
So how would I do that?
Oh, calling them.
Okay, so how often should I call them until I get it?
Once a week.
Good, perfect, that's exactly right. A prospect, we manage them through contact at least, I would say at least once a week. So it could be more often than that, potentially. But contact at least one time per week until they become a client, they become over here what we'll call your SOI, or you drop them. So if you have somebody that's missing one of these, so even I would say, think of it this way. Your whole objective in prospecting, hopefully you learned this, this is where I'm testing me again, see if I taught you well. What's your purpose of prospecting?
Set appointment.
Good, I have one person, sweet. So our whole purpose of prospecting is to set an appointment, right? So when we're prospecting, think of it that way, is what we're trying to do is we're trying to find somebody who will commit to working exclusively with me, that has clear and present needs that can be met, that's ready to do it now, that I can set an appointment with, is what I'm trying to do. Now, we also did talk about prospecting on 2 parallel tracks, right? Well, this is where that other parallel track comes into place, is if I get somebody that in my prospecting that seems like they would be committed to working exclusively with me, have clear and present needs that can be met, but they're not gonna be ready for a year, well, I probably don't wanna have, like, hey, let's set up an appointment for a year from now. Like, I'm probably not gonna do that, right? But I also, would it make sense to call those people every week for a year? No, cause they're gonna get frustrated of like, no, it's like I'm a year out, you don't need to call me every week. So we wanna put them over into our sphere of influence. So, that's what we're gonna talk about for the rest of the day, is there are 4 protocols, just like we had here. There are 4 protocols for your sphere of influence. Think of a protocol as being a required condition. So notice I didn't say there's 4 rules, 4 laws, 4 conditions. I'm calling them protocols on purpose. A protocol is a required condition, okay? So a protocol is a required condition. And now, let me come back to, remember I said to you that I 100% guarantee you this will work? I will 100% guarantee you this will work if you'll do the 4 things we're gonna talk about. But it's a math problem. And so we're gonna get into that next, of the math of this, okay? Now, but before we do that, I wanna show you, I wanna do, let me put the screen down here. I'm gonna show you a couple of slides. I talked to you guys about these on Tuesday, but I decided during lunch I needed to show them to you. And then we're gonna watch a quick video too, actually. So, let me get this pulled up so you can see it. Okay, just to kind of drive home the point, and we talked about this on Tuesday, but I just want to make sure that I show it to you here. A couple of slides. So this is, every year, the National Association of Realtors does a survey of home buyers and sellers. And as part of that survey, they asked it, this is like 150 pages long, this survey that they do. Okay, so there's a ton of information, but what I wanted to point out and show you is, this is the question that they asked, is how the buyer found their real estate agent. And of all buyers, 40% said that they were referred by or was a friend, neighbor, or relative. And 17% used the agent previously. So 57% of the time, the way that people are gonna choose the agent that they're gonna use to buy a house is either a friend, neighbor, or relative, or use the agent beforehand. So, pretty big number, because then you notice after that, look what happens. Drops off huge, right? Okay, well, what about the seller? Oops. Went the wrong way. The seller, 38% was referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative. 28% used the agent previously, so you add those together, 66%. 2/3 of the time, the way a seller is going to choose their agent is friend, neighbor, or relative, or referred from a friend, neighbor, or relative, or they use the agent before. And then notice what happens after that. Drops off drastically. Other than other, whatever that is. Other was 11%. I wish I knew what it was. It's the third best thing. But notice that. So, how important is your sphere of influence? Huge, right? Hugely important. Okay. Now, I want to show you, because we're gonna now get into some other information and kind of do some quote unquote math a little bit. So before we do that, I got to show you this video. And this video I'm going to show you is from Ma and Pa Kettle. And in case you don't know who Ma and Pa Kettle is, Anna, I know you won't know who do you guys know do you know who Mom and Pa Kettle are? Yeah, do you? Oh, okay, well see, don't feel bad, you're not the only one. I'm the only old one apparently. So Mom and Pa Kettle, this was a sitcom, so it was a TV show, went back before TV was even in color. So what you're gonna watch is in black and white, okay? And I'm gonna show you the video and then it'll make sense afterwards, but might not really make sense during the video, but it'll make sense afterwards. So let me get that pulled up here. Show you this video.
To you, Mama. And 25% divided between the 5 of us. Gina, Crowbar, myself, Tom, and the baby. That makes 5% for each one of us.
Billy, you're cheating yourself. If there's 25% divided among the 5 of you, that's 14% apiece.
Oh, no, listen, Pa. I wouldn't cheat you. You know I wouldn't. Now, look here. I'll show you. Let me rub this out here. Now, 25 divided by 5 is 5. You see, the time won't go to 2, will it? No. But 5 goes into 25 5 times, you see?
Oh, you're wrong, Billy. No, I'm pretty good enough in the distance. Now, 5 into 25. 5 won't go into 2, will it?
No.
But 5 goes into 5 once. Now, we didn't use the 2 before, so it brings down here. Now, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. There you are. 5 into 25, 14.
No, look, Pa. Now, let me prove it to you now by modification. 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25.
I'm surprised you're learning.
Huh?
I'm surprised that you're learning. Now I'll show you. 5 times 14 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. 25. That's it.
No, look, Ma. Look, you're wrong there because I'll prove it to you. We'll put down 5 14s here. 14. There. Now I'll prove it to you by addition that 5 14s is not 25. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20,
21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There you are. I'm impressed with Billy. I don't want to see you boys cheating.
Alright, that's awesome. Okay, so.
Made so much sense to them.
His twist arounds are awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll see why I show you that in a second here, but. And part of why I say that, the reason I show you that is because we're gonna do math, and for a minute you might feel like I'm doing Mom and Pa Kettle math, but I promise I'm not, okay? So, alright, so here's what happens is, I showed you that chart from the National Association of Realtors. Most agents go out and work other areas besides their sphere of influence. And more than likely you, some of you at least, are feeling the same way in terms of, well, I don't want to call and bug them. I don't want them to feel like I'm Amway salesman or a multi-level marketing. Like, I don't want people to think I'm bugging them. So we would rather go prospect in the general population. And I already showed you why that's not the best way to do it, is because the way people typically choose is by being referred to a friend, neighbor, or relative, or using the agent previously. Well, so here's what's gonna happen though. So before I jump into this next piece, let me explain something to you. Because I just told you that what I'm gonna show you is a math problem and it's guaranteed to work, right? So here's my frustration. So I have been training this now for a long time. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna quit saying number of years because I don't
Hey,
like.
you just put a black and white TV show, you're adding numbers.
Yeah, we know how.
I will be honest, that was before my time too, but I did know who they were as a kid growing up, but yeah, good point. Yeah, that was poor timing on my part too.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing though, is I showed you this learning curve on Tuesday. And here's my frustration, is What's gonna happen is, I'm gonna lay this out for you guys, these 4 protocols. You're gonna be really excited about it, and you're gonna leave here going, okay, I can see from that, like, I can see why it's guaranteed to work. But then my frustration is, most of you, if not all, are not gonna go do it. You're not gonna do it, and it's not difficult. So, and I somewhat say that to you right now a little bit, like, I was the type of person that if you started a class by saying, well, in fact, actually, the Moxie neighborhood news that I showed you guys yesterday, the first time I heard that idea was in 1998, 99, something like that. The idea of doing something like that. We didn't have the programs available like we do today to do it. But an agent came to our sales meeting in our office and he said, I travel the country selling Top Producer, which is a CRM that you can use. He said, I travel the country selling this. And back then, so I am dating myself again here.
Way back.
Yeah, I know. He goes, you bought actually the discs that you would load on your computer. But he was like, I travel the country selling this to real estate agents. So I'm in sales meetings all over this country every day. And he said, I'm going to share with you guys the best idea that I have heard, and none of you are going to go do it. Well, as soon as I heard that, I was like, I don't care what he says, I am going to go do it. And then he explained, and what he said is send a newsletter out to your sphere of influence of the homes in their neighborhood that are for sale, the ones that are under contract, and the ones that are sold. What Neighborhood News does now. He said, if you sent that out, would be the best thing you could do with your sphere of influence, but none of you are gonna do it. Well, I was like, I'm doing it. And I did it, and I will tell you, it is the best thing you can do, which is why I teach you guys on that and said yesterday, you gotta do Neighborhood News, okay? So I'm hoping by me saying to you, I'm gonna teach you guys something that is guaranteed to work. It is guaranteed to make you over $250,000 a year in income. Guaranteed.
So why is nobody doing it?
Well, I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Okay.
Now, it's still stupid why they don't, but you're gonna see, we're gonna do the math. You're gonna see it is guaranteed to work. But here's what happens. So this is why, the process to you doing that, so when I say I can guarantee you $250,000 a year, it's from this point on, right there, okay? So this whole process though, of what I'm gonna teach you to get to here. So for you to get to where from this point on, you're gonna start making $250,000 a year or more, is gonna take 6 to 9 months. Now, don't hear that as, I'm not saying you're not gonna make money before it, because if this green line represents money, you're gonna start making money. But if this is 6 to 9 months, how far is that? 4 or 5 months?
4 or 5, yes.
We could even maybe say 3, but probably more like 4, 3 to 5 months. That looks like 2 3s. So what's gonna happen the first 3 or 4 months?
Struggle bus and not much is gonna be happening.
So when you ask why do people not do it, that's the reason. It's because and I'm just calling it like it is, hoping that you will like take my challenge, like I'm throwing down the gauntlet on you, like please go do this, is kind of what I'm trying to say. But recognize, and for years of me teaching this, I didn't bring that up. I didn't bring up the fact of like, hey, for the first little while, it's gonna feel like nothing's happening. So do any of you guys know anything about how bamboo grows?
It's like really, really slow and then it just shoots up.
Yes, good. I'm glad you said they're really, really slow. Because generally when I say how does bamboo grow, usually somebody will say really fast. And it's like, that is true, except for
It takes forever to hit.
it takes 4 years before, go ahead.
I think it's a Fitzgerald quote that it's like, it's not related to growth, it's actually related to, I can't remember the quote, but it's like about, it takes forever until it's overnight. Have you heard that quote?
Mm-mm.
It's essentially
I like
talking
that,
about like people getting bankrupt or whatever, they think it's really slow because they get into this debt, that, and then it's overnight that they just lose everything. It's like, no. It just took you a minute to get to the point that.
Okay, good.
point.
Think of this as being the same way, but just the opposite of what you're saying there. But so here's the thing, with bamboo, it grows really fast. When it pokes through, it's gonna grow really fast, like 100 feet tall in a couple of weeks. But it took 4 years before it actually pokes through the ground. So what was it doing during the 4 years?
Said roots.
Yeah, it was getting its root structure in place so that it could sustain itself to grow that fast. So here's what I want you to know about this process that I'm going to teach you in right now. Is the reason, Ronnie, people don't go do it is because for 3 or 4 or 5 months even, potentially 5 months, it's going to feel like I'm doing all this work and I'm getting nothing from it.
No, I understand, yeah, I get it.
But what I want to make sure you guys understand is something's going on, just like it is with the bamboo. Something's going on, it's just under the surface, so you aren't seeing it. But then notice what happens when it starts. When all of a sudden it starts, it goes really fast. And that is how this is going to play out. So I tell you that, because remember, I believe power comes in telling the truth. If I tell you the truth, hopefully you guys will be like, okay, I'm doing it. And so, in fact, sometimes what I do, so maybe we'll even do this. Put in your calendar in your phone a reminder to call me 9 months from today.
I'll put 9 months from January because that's when I'll start.
Okay.
9 months.
So for you, put it in September of next year. Like 9 months from today, put in there, call Russ. 9 months from today. And here's what you're gonna do, is you're gonna call me, and one of 3 things is what you're gonna do. You're gonna call me and say, I did everything you said, and wow, it worked. Or you're gonna call me and say, yeah, I didn't do it. And then I'm gonna say, and how did that work out for you?
What if I call and I'm like, I did do it, it didn't work?
I challenge you to do,
I'm
no,
messing with you.
I'm challenging, yeah. I have yet to, in 20 years of training this, I have yet to have any, here's the sad news. I have had a handful of people call me. The one that I remember the most is, hey Russ, how you doing? And I'm like, good, what's up? I don't really know, but I had a reminder in my phone to call you today. And he goes, but I don't know why. And I go, I do. So remember the SOI class that I taught? Oh yeah, I told you 9 months from today, I want you to call me and tell me that what I want you to do, I mean, I don't really want you to. I want you to call me and say it worked. But part of me saying putting it in there is prove me wrong. Yeah, call me 9 months from now and say, I did everything you said and it didn't work. I've yet to get that phone call. So either they do it and it works, or they do it or they don't do it and it doesn't work and you won't call me when it pops up on your phone. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I didn't do it, I'm not calling him. But I had one that called me and's like, I don't know why I was supposed to call you, but I have a reminder to call you. And I was like, I can tell you why. 9 months ago, you were in a class with me. Did you do it? No.
Do
Okay,
you have to solely focus on this for 3 to 5 months to
No.
make it work?
no, no, you're gonna do this. So you're still see, part of why I drew this like this is a funnel. So go do whatever prospecting you do. Remember I said have 2 or 3 ways, one of them being your sphere of, remember I also told you today's gonna kind of be the crescendo of everything we've done. This is how. Get 2 or 3 ways that you're gonna prospect. One of them has to be your sphere of influence, so the other 1 or 2 prospect trying to get appointments, but if you can't get appointments, you're gonna put them over here, which I'm gonna talk about in a bit. And then so yeah, this is just one of the ways you're gonna do it, but have only 2 or 3 that you're gonna do, okay? All right. So that, to answer your question, which I know that was a long way to answer it, but is the reason people don't do it, and it took me a while to figure that out. That's when I then started to use this analogy of bamboo, is because I would start the class and be like, I don't know why you guys won't go do this, because I built my business doing what, I mean, I was doing 1 appointment a day, but I was also doing this in conjunction with it, and I got to where that's all I did was business from my sphere of influence because I had created this. So, like, I'm not telling you something I didn't personally do. And It will work. I have never had anybody call me and say, I did everything you said and it didn't work. Either you won't do it, or you'll do it and it'll work. So, okay. Which, by the way, before you guys leave today, I would love to get from you, I'm actually gonna start trying to do some actually of this training to like offering it outside of our company, like across the country. And I would love to have some like recommendations. So if you wouldn't recommend it, then don't write anything. But if you would, and like ideal, I'd love to even have a video and if somebody would be willing to do it. But if not, that's okay. If you'll write me just what you thought about the training would be awesome. Okay. So, just keep in mind, you just gotta go tell yourself, like it's kind of no different than going to the gym. Like, you don't see results overnight at the gym. It takes time of going to the gym, right? Before you're gonna start to see those results. This is the same concept of just know you gotta dig in and keep doing it. And do it and do it and do it. And if you will do it, within 5 months, you're gonna start to see all of a sudden this. You're gonna see business all of a sudden goes, like, I'm not saying you won't get some deals, because here's the truth. I have actually had some agents that I've even said, if you'll go through and do what I'm talking about, and I would challenge you guys to do this too. I won't guarantee this one, but I'd be shocked if it doesn't, though. Most of the time, just setting this up, which we haven't even talked about Protocol 1 yet, which we're gonna do next, but just getting through Protocol 1, you'll get a deal. A deal will show up for you, like almost guaranteed. That one I won't guarantee, but I'll say almost guaranteed. But if you'll do the other, it'll work, guaranteed. Okay, so here's what happens though. So I showed you that chart there, and what's gonna happen is typically, so when I showed you that how good it was working with your sphere of influence, and then I showed you how it dropped off to such a lower percentage, if you were to just get a map, and this would have to be a pretty big size map, but if you just got a map and you drew a circle on it, and when I say drew a circle, it would have to be probably like close to half of Salt Lake County or something, like that's a pretty good sized circle. But what would you say the percentage of people who are gonna move within that circle? Like again, it would have to be a pretty big circle, but if we just said like, maybe if we've just said Salt Lake County, what percentage of the population will move within the next year? Any ideas?
20 to 30?
Okay, it's not quite that high. According to the Census Bureau, 12% of the population, so like when they do the census, 12% will move. Now, but that includes renters, people that are moving with renting. If you factor those out, 7% of the population is typically what's gonna happen with buying and selling real estate. So, now, I'm gonna go back in time again to, remember when I first started and I told you about my broker saying however many contacts you do in a day is how many transactions you'll do in a year? Well, something else that he told me was this, is he said, if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads. From those 10 leads should turn into 1 transaction. So this is gonna be a pretty common thing you will hear in real estate. You'll hear people say, if you talk to 100 people, you should get 10 leads and it should turn into 1 transaction. Now, where that came from is this. 7% of the population is in the process of buying or selling. So if that's true, and we were to just say out of 100 people, and again, you have to do way more than 100, but let's just say 100 people, if 7% of them are in the process of, or going to move, how many transactions would that equate to out of that 100 people?
Let's say that one more time, sorry.
Okay, if 7% of the population is gonna move, and we're just gonna assume that of the 100. So what percentage of or how many transactions would that be?
7.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna do mom and pop kettle math on you, because the answer is 14.
Oh god, I could tell by, you didn't respond to my 7 and I was like, oh god.
The answer is 14.
I was gonna say 7, and I was like, that's not.
See, it's mom and pop kettle had it right. 14's the answer to everything. So it's 14. Why? Why is it 14, not 7? This is the hardest math we're gonna do all day.
Someone's buying, because they might be selling.
Correct. So, yes, but it's more so of just, the key word I said is, I didn't say how many houses will sell, because 7% of 100 would be 7 houses, but how many transactions is that? There's a buyer side and a seller side to each transaction, so that's why it's double. Does that make sense? So when a house sells, that would equate to 2 transactions. Like on the MLS, that counts as 2 transactions, so.
Unless they're moving like out of state, right?
No, because there still was a buyer for their house, so that was 2 transactions. Because
Yeah.
there's a seller and a buyer on every house.
Oh, okay, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. I thought you were talking about the person
No.
selling the house and then going and buying, but yeah, every transaction.
In every house that sells, there's a buyer side and a seller side, so there's 2 transactions for every 1 home that sells.
Yep.
That's the hardest math we're gonna do all day. Okay, so, but here's the thing, so here's where I think this came from. The idea of somebody saying 100 transactions equals 10 leads to 1 transaction. I think where that came from, this is just me guessing, but as it came out of this, I think. The idea of there's 14 transactions, or even if you said 7, it just sounds better to say 110-1 than 107-1. It's kind of my guess, is what happened. Because again, that's not necessarily what really happens. But let's just say for the sake of cuz that is true. That the odds of somebody selling when you knock on their door are 9-1, okay? So, watch what happens here. How many people we got online? Oh, I need to exit out mine here, so. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that doesn't really work, but that's okay. Okay, so typically we look at this and go 110-1. So we would say, okay, so if I knock on Ronnie's door and he's not gonna be buying or selling, so I move on, get to Anna, what are the odds now? If it was 10-1 before, what is it now? 9-1, okay, now what, so she's not it either, so Taylor now what is it?
Okay, the one.
Okay, so then I go to Eli, then I go on to Lynn, using your logic, 6, Carrie, 5, then I go to Savannah.
4.
So I only need 3 more and I should get a deal, right? So that's how we logically think, but Anna's saying no, so what is it then?
Oh, I can't remember, there's a movie that I saw where it was like this poker guy that was like betting and stuff, he did the similar comparison, I can't remember what the formula was.
Okay, I'll help you with it.
Yeah, sorry.
So really what it says is 9-1, so let me show you what that looks like. What that means is this. How many sides to this dice, or die? 6. So pick a number between 1 and 6. I one time did this in a class and I said, pick a number, and somebody said 7, and I'm like,
Wait a minute.
yeah, no, that doesn't work. So I always now say, pick a number between 1 and 6. Somebody, 3, okay. So what are the odds that if I roll this, we're gonna get a 3?
1 and 6.
So 1 out of 6, right? Everybody's good with that. Okay, so I roll it and got a 1, okay? So now, what are the odds that I'm gonna get a 3 now? Yeah, the same.
They haven't changed.
They don't change. Okay, so,
Oh,
look at that. For you guys on Zoom, I got a 3.
Interesting.
Okay, so if I roll this, the odds are 1 out of 6. What if I rolled it, which I'm not gonna do today, sometimes I will actually keep rolling it to show you. What happens though if I rolled it 10 times and I still didn't get a 3, what would be the odds the next time I roll it?
You'd probably be better, I think, because it hasn't happened for a duration.
So what you're talking about there, and we're not gonna go this deep, but what you're talking about is regression towards the mean,
Yeah.
which basically what regression towards the mean would say, the longer I haven't rolled it, the more likely it is, but the odds don't, it's still 1 out of 6.
Right.
Every time. Every time I roll this, 1 out of 6. So, here's the thing. When my manager told me this, if you talk to 100 people, you'll get 10 leads, and from those 10 leads, you should be able to do 1 transaction. I felt like that was pretty good until I really learned what odds are. Because here's I'm gonna say this a different way. So if the odds are 9-1, what is the 9? That they're going to do business or not gonna?
Not.
That they're not, okay, good, everybody's clear. So if I come to Ronnie, the odds are 9-1, which that means he is 90% more likely to say no than yes. Right? But if I leave him and come over here, now what are they? Still 9-1 against me. Now what are they?
Same.
9-1, 9-1, 9-1, 9-1, 9-1.
But as you progress though, that doesn't alter at all, huh?
So again, there is something in math called regression towards the
I think that's
mean,
where my mind keeps.
but here's the problem with that. So yes, you're right. Here's the problem with that. So let's come back to this.
Gamblers count on that.
You what?
That's what gamblers count on.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So here's
Maybe
the
that's my
problem.
gambler mentality.
It is, for sure. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter if I rolled this 20 times, the odds of me getting a 3 don't get any better by the more I do it. Now, the exception is the regression towards the mean, but here's the problem with that. If I rolled this dice 1,000,000 times, what percentage of the time would the 3 come up? Somewhere close to 1 out of every 6. But I gotta do it 1,000,000 times. So here's the good news, Ronnie. Go talk to 1,000,000 people and you'll get this.
Cool.
How long is it gonna take you to get to 1,000,000 people though?
No, I see where you're going.
That's the problem. So here's the thing. Now here's why I'm bringing that up. This 9-1, this is an open system. That's what happens in an open system and the way that most agents approach doing real estate and working their sphere of influence, they approach it as an open system. See, I have been to many, many real estate trainers, and I went to one trainer that he brought up onto the stage agents that were making $1 million a year. And he said to them, how many people you got in your database? And they would say, 4,000. And I was like, okay. But then this same trainer, I have heard him say so many times, you can get a 10 to 15% return out of your sphere of influence. Okay, well, if that's true, and they had 4,000 people in their database, and they're gonna get a 10% return, let's just do 10%. How many deals would that be? 400. They were not doing 400 deals in a year. See, here's the problem. In our business, there is a ton of anecdotal data. Anecdotal is the stories we tell. That's why I tell you guys, power comes out of telling the truth. Like, let's tell the truth. The problem is, these agents that have 4,000 people in a database, and they say that they're getting a 10% return, they're not. If you were doing 400 deals a year, that agent's making like $10 million. Like, they're not making $1 million.
They don't have a life either.
And, yeah, who knows? But, so that's an open system, okay? So the first protocol of working your sphere of influence is, number 1, has to be a closed system. So it's not an open system, it has to be a closed system. Now, we haven't talked about that yet. But, so let me show you now. Watch what happens. Let me show you what a closed system looks like. I'm gonna do the same thing. This time I am gonna roll it though. We're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna see how many times do I have to roll this to get a 3, but I'm gonna change the rules of the game. The rules of the game on now are, if I roll it and something comes up that's not a 3, I'm gonna put a sticker on it. I'll put a green dot on it. And then after that, if I roll it and a green dot comes up, the rule is I get a free throw. If that roll doesn't count. Okay? So now let's see what happens to how many times do I have to roll it to get a 3. So there's a 1. So I'm gonna now put a green dot on here. So now if we roll it and that green dot shows up, free throw, doesn't count. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so there's a 2, so we've rolled it 2 times. So now I got a green sticker on that one. Okay, there's a 6, so we've rolled it 3 times. Free throw, doesn't count, so we've rolled it how many times? 3 times, still 3 times, because it was a green dot. Still a green dot. Okay, there's a 4. So now we've rolled it 4 times. This is how I get my squats in for the day. So there's a 5. This is kind of interesting that we're going in number order here.
Yeah.
So, oh, we already got the 6, huh? Okay, free throw, free throw, free throw. So how many times have we rolled it?
5.
Okay, there's the 6th time. So it took 6 rolls to get the 3. Now let's do it again. How many times is it gonna take now? Didn't count. Doesn't count.
Only gonna take one time
Yeah.
now.
Okay, good, I can stop since you got it. It's only gonna take 1 roll,
I
right?
should have let you keep going.
I know, I was gonna do it till either I got it or you guys caught on. Yeah, so at this point, I either get a free throw or I get a 3. So the reason is because I changed the rules of the game. The rule I changed is from it being an open system to a closed system. In a closed system, I have more control. So, you can't do this in Vegas. If you could, I would not be here teaching you this. I would be in Vegas doing it all day, every day, right? So that's a closed system. Now, how would you like to do real estate that way? Which, by the way, I don't think I've ever pointed this out before, but notice, think of what I said about this and the rolling of the dice. Notice how at first it took some work, but now all of a sudden I'm either gonna get a free throw or I get a deal. It's free throw, deal. Free throw or a deal. What do you think? Power comes out of telling the truth. You okay with what I said, or are you struggling at all with it? You good?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you say it's a free,
Thank you. I was like, I know somebody's questioning
Yeah, I
this.
was wondering about the, it's like you're calling it free, but it's still almost a waste.
Are you gonna connect it back to like qualifying the lead? Then that's the one that you
Nope.
put? Nope.
Nope, I'll show you. But here's the thing, the key piece of this is, that's why I was saying you can't go do this in Vegas, but it's my business, I get to decide the rules of the game, and that's the rules of the game. Well, would you like to do real estate that way? Just question?
Good possible.
Yeah, now here's let me relate it, because I can see when some of you are still struggling with it. Think of it as if there was a way for me to actually change the number, like if I could do this I'm gonna have to see if ChatGPT could create it for me, and I'll do it online versus this. But if there was a way for me to change it, rather than it being a free throw, to change the number to being, once I've got it, that it's not it, I get to change it to a 3, would that help you a little bit better? So where
okay?
when I'm actually rolling it, either a 3 shows up or a 3.
Yeah.
Would that help you feel better about doing real estate that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the difference, is the way that we're gonna build this, because we're creating it as a closed system, in essence, think of it as initially, it's gonna be no different than this, right out of the gate, which is why it takes a little bit of time. But think of it as, because it's a closed system, what I'm doing is, as I'm building that, by rolling it and putting a sticker on it, what I would be doing with this in my real estate is, I'm taking the people who are not gonna do real estate with me and get rid of them, so I don't have to call them. So that's where I know you guys were struggling with it, is I still was putting the work in. But if what I was doing was putting the work in to get more 3s rather than a green dot, you'd be good with it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, is we're gonna do real estate to where I'm gonna get it to where the majority of the people that are in my system are either giving business to me, or, meaning referring it, or doing it.
When you say free throw, that's the fall in the lap thing. Is that what you're, like how
Uh-huh.
Kimberly's fell in her lap, like, that's the free throw you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about, sorta, but I'll explain it a little bit more. So, okay, so protocol number 1. On your sphere of influence, you can't have it be an open system. These agents that I told you came up on stage and were making $1 million with 4,000 people, that's an open system. Like, if they keep growing that to where they have 10,000 people, what I'm saying is your odds of doing a deal with those 4,000 people are no different than just grabbing 4,000 people off the street.
Okay.
That's, cause if they're saying 10%, like, I still guarantee you, they are not getting referrals from 10% of those people. They're not. It's not happening. If though we go from this being an open system to a closed system, you can get a 60% return off of the people. Now, you'll notice, like, the way I demonstrated it, rolling the dice, almost looked like I should get to 100%, right? But I will tell you, you could get close to 100%, you're never gonna get to 100%. You'll never be to where all 100% of the people in your database are referring you business. Here's why. There's an agent that I taught in this a number of years ago, and I have had 3 times while I've been teaching the class that when I brought up her name, I've had people say, yeah, she's the reason I'm in real estate. Because I was referring people to her, and I referred so many people to her that I realized I should just go get my real estate license. So you're probably never gonna get to 100% because you're gonna have some of the people that are in your database are gonna die. They're gonna move out of state. For my best person for referring to me, so from this database, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the best person that I had that referred to me, my best friend growing up, he got married and his wife cut hair. And so I would go to her to get my hair cut. They lived in some townhouses out in West Valley. And I would go to their house and she would cut my hair. Well, every time I would go there, after they had lived there for a couple of years, I would go get my hair cut and she'd be like, now these were townhouses and they were all built so like people moved in all about the same time, which, total side note, townhouses tend to turn over faster than houses. So they're a great place to prospect because, and or get people into your database because the people will stay in a townhouse a shorter time frame than a traditional house. Just know.
Usually a stepping stone, a lot of time to a house, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Oh, and it's becoming even more and more that way. But so just kind of know that's going to be what happens. So I would go get my hair cut though, and every time I was there, she'd be like, so-and-so that lives 3 houses down or across the street or whatever, different building, their husband just got a new job and they need to move and I told them they need to talk to you. Like almost monthly, she would send me somebody that I could go talk to about helping them sell their condo. Now, imagine if you had 200 people that did that for you, that just were kind of your army out there looking for business for you. Like that's what we want to create. See, if you have 4,000, 1, you can't manage it, but 2, you're never going to find 4,000 people that are going to go do that for you. But could you find 200 that could do that? And the answer to that is almost. Like, I mean, you can get to 200, but not all 200 are not going to do it, just FYI. But I am telling you, once you hit 60% of this, that are people that will either do business with you or refer it to you, is that here. And you could get there in the next 6 to 9 months. But you're gonna start out with, similar to that rolling the dice, you gotta kind of sort through the people. So just, that's the other reason when you ask why do people not do it, is because at first, when you first start this, you're gonna be churning a lot, meaning like you're gonna put people in, and I'll say more about that in a minute, but you're gonna put people into the system, and then a month later, you're gonna take them back out again. And I'll explain why that would be in just a little bit. But to begin with, you're gonna have people who tell you, yes, I would use you as an agent, yes, I would refer business to you, and over time, you're gonna figure out they don't. Or you're gonna be prospecting and you're gonna ask somebody if you can add them to this select group of people, which that's what we're gonna call this for our prospecting, is a select group of people. And they're gonna say, yes, you can add me to your list, and then you'll never get a hold of them again. Or they gave you the wrong phone number, like, or the email address you got, you send them an email and it bounces back from sending out the neighborhood news that it's a wrong email address or something. Like, you're gonna have people who tell you yes, but then are gone really fast. So early on, you're gonna churn through this. Is part of, so just think of it as no different than me rolling the dice and putting a sticker on it, is kind of what's gonna happen, is you gotta pay the price to figure out some of these people, does that make sense? But, so here's the real thing with this, is it really just has to be a closed system. 200 is the number that I'm just saying that you should use. The magic in it is that it's a closed system. So you technically don't do this, but you could have 100 and it's still a closed system. You could have 300 and it's a closed system. Closed system is the answer. The reason I tell you 200 is because if you do much more than 200, you could go up to 300. More than 300, you'll quit doing the protocols. So that's part of why I say 200 is the number, is because you'll follow the protocols with 200, you won't with 300. The problem with, if you did it with 50 people, is it's not gonna be enough. Well, let me say it this way. I've yet to see anyone do it with 50 people and have it generate a decent amount of money. The lowest I've seen somebody do as a fixed in size number, because that's really what makes it a closed system, is it has to be fixed in size, was 75. So for me, when I was doing this, and don't hear that you can start with this, but 150 was my number that I did. And I'll tell you how to decide your number, but to begin with, your number is 200, okay? To begin with, the number is 200. Now, once you hit this point here and you're generating income off of it consistently, you can change it to any number you want. I don't care, change it to any number you want. Change it to 300 if you want. Change it to lower number. I've never seen it work for anybody with less than 75. So I would say, but don't start with, could you start with 75? Yes. Just know that it's, instead of 6 to 9 months, it might take you 3 years if you did it with 75. I mean, I don't know the number that it's gonna take to get there, but with 200, I can tell you in 6 to 9 months, you'll start to see a consistent income from doing this, okay? Now, once you hit that though, then change it if you want, and I'll tell you how to decide that in a little bit. So protocol number 2. Second protocol to this is all 200, oh, hang on, I gotta say one other thing. Hopefully this is a given, but let me just make sure. You can't have 201 and you can't have 199. Like 200 is the number. Meaning, so let's say that I have 200 in there and somebody calls me and says, take me off your list. Well, then how many people do I have now?
You gotta have one.
Good, that's what I wanna make sure you guys understand is, let's say that I'm at 200 and I go out knocking on doors and I find somebody that's like, yeah, and we love you, we want you to be our agent. Well, now I have 201.
The pull one.
So now I have to get rid of someone. Can't have 201, can't have 199. So the moment it drops to 199, you gotta go find somebody to replace them. The moment it goes to 201, you gotta look at the list and go, who's the crappiest one in here? You're out. They're gone.
So I think we've talked about this before, but I know the SOI and they may be friends or family, but how do you get them to be on board for your army if you've not even done real estate yet? Like, you're new. And so like, how do they make a recommendation?
Hold tight, I'll show you. So first, let me get through protocol 2, then protocol 3, I'll answer that question. Okay, so you can't have 199, you can't have 201. The moment it goes to 199, go find somebody to put in. The moment it hits 201 from your prospecting, get rid of somebody. Like, it has to be 200, okay?
I understand if someone has to leave and add somebody. But can you talk more about why you wouldn't want the 201?
Yep, because the magic in this is it has to be fixed in size. Has to stay at that size. And here's why. Every time you add somebody to it, pretty soon you're at 4,000.
And your measures are off. Your measures will start being off.
And the problem is, when I give you protocol number 3, you can't effectively do 4,000 people when I show you what protocol 3 is. But
you could do 300.
you could do, if you wanted to say 300, that's fine, yeah. Like, but my only reason of saying 200 for you right now, do 200. Once 200's working, if you wanted to go to 300, do it. But, and I would say too, the other thing, even though I keep telling you 200's the number, like you might have 10 right now. So your objective, if you only have 10 right now, is I gotta get to 200 as fast as I can. Did you have a question?
No, just like I don't know if this would apply to real estate as much, but with web design is what I'm doing right now. My first project that I closed on and got paid on, it was my mom referred me to a friend who was starting a business that needed a website. He hadn't even seen any of my projects, didn't even ask for it. He was like, I talked to your mom, she referred me to you, kind of like somebody I trust referred me to you. They didn't ask me for proof that I'm able to do it.
Mhm.
They just kind of trusted their person, so I'm like, I don't know if in your experience or anything like that, people would be willing to just trust their friend's word, even if as a real estate agent, you have
It's the
it.
same.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay.
Yep, same concept. Okay, protocol number 2. Protocol number 2 is permission. You have to have permission from all 200. Okay? So what that means is when I said you might have 10 now or whatever, here's what I would recommend that you do is go through your phone and figure out in your phone, like go through every single contact in your phone and you're gonna decide, am I gonna put them in to be one of these 200 or not? And how I would recommend call everybody. Now, Anna brought up some of hers are in Brazil, so maybe don't do the ones in Brazil.
Yeah.
But even if you had somebody in Austin, Texas, to begin with, put them in. Put them in call and ask them, hey, if you had a real estate need in Austin, who would you use? And that if they go, I don't know, just say, okay, well, I have connections that can help get you with an agent in Austin that could help you. So I'm putting together a select group of people that I'm gonna stay in touch with about real estate. Could I add you to that list? They'll say yes. And then once they say yes, then if somebody from Austin calls and says, hey, we need to sell our house, you're gonna go to our relocation department down here with Heather and say, I got somebody who needs to sell in Austin and she's gonna find an agent down there and then you're gonna get paid 21% of whatever the commission is that they end up paying or collecting, the agent does. You're gonna get 21% of that just for making a phone call and saying, hey, here you go. Now, as though Eli hits 200 and he's prospecting and finds more people, as soon as you go to 201, who are you gonna get rid of? I'd start getting rid of first the people in Austin that you're not gonna be able to help sell. So if you have contacts that are outside of Utah to begin with, it's fine. I mean, technically you probably could even still in Brazil, it's just gonna be harder through our relocation department, but
Yeah, I've only had like one person actually buy property here from Brazil. They literally have like what's called.
well, I'm not even saying if they buy here. You could send a referral for if they buy there and get paid.
Oh,
So that actually could work, you know, a lot of people that could work out for you.
Yeah, like I say, it's a little harder when it's international. We can still do it. It just might take a little bit more effort from our relocation department, but so yeah, here's the thing. It does not matter who you put in. I'll say that more about that in a minute. But who you put in here doesn't matter, but you do have to have permission from them. So I would recommend get in your phone, pull up your contacts, start it, whoever's at the top of the list. You see who's at the top of my list. Karma Abbott, and I'd be like, okay, call her. And if you look at it and you're like, I don't wanna call her, then that's fine. Like, you don't have to. But here's what I will tell you. If you decide not to call Karma, no pun intended on what about, it's not Karma if she doesn't list with you. That's funny. I'm gonna start using that every time. But if you decide not to call whoever's the first in your list, you have to mentally decide, I don't care if they buy or sell a house and don't use me then. Like, she lives in my neighborhood, so if I don't call her, if I'm not willing to call her or her husband, one of the two, if I'm not willing to do that, then when I see a for sale sign in their front yard, I have to just be like, it has to be no different than if I drove by some random house and saw a for sale sign. Like, if I see some random house, I don't feel like, oh, I should have had that one. But I'll tell you what, I missed out on a lot of sales in my neighborhood, and actually because I'm not doing this anymore, I still do. A guy in my neighborhood just listed that I 100% know I could have had if I was doing this. My focus is not on that right now. So I also don't let it bother me because I don't really want to be out doing it anymore either. But if you look at their name and you're not willing to call them, you also have to be okay with the fact that if they do a real estate deal without you, you can't feel any worse than some random person on the street that did a deal and didn't do it with you. Does that make sense? But so you gotta call them, and then permission is this. So I would call and just ring, hey, hello, hey, is this Karma? Yeah, Karma, this is Russ. How are you doing? I mean, I'd probably have to say Orchard to her. This is Russ Orchard. She'd be like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, I just was calling because I don't know if you're aware or not, which I know she is. Her husband knows, I don't know if she does. But I'm in real estate, and she'd be like, yeah, I knew that. Well, I've decided, so this is basically what, you wanna say one of two things. So you guys that are newer, I would say you wanna call and say, I don't know if you know, but I got my real estate license. And one of the things that I have learned, because you're learning it right now, is that the best way for me to work in real estate is by referral. So I'm putting together a select group of people. That's this 200. Don't tell them it's 200. Just, you want to say, I'm putting together a select group of people. Now, why would you say select group of people?
Make them feel important.
It's intriguing.
Yeah, it makes it feel special. Like, this is not just anybody. I'm putting together a select group of people, and I would like to add you to that list. Would that be okay?
A select elite group of people.
Call it that, yeah.
Make
All
them
of that.
feel real special.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna say, I'm putting together a select group of people that I'm gonna stay in touch with about real estate. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? They're either gonna say yes or no. Now, most of the time, they're gonna say yes. Now, they may say, well, what exactly does that mean? We're not planning on selling. That's okay. I'm not worried about if you buy or sell, but if you heard of somebody thinking of buying or selling, would you be willing to pass my name on to them? Well, yeah, okay, great. And then I just tell them what this looks like is I will give you a call, and I'll say more about this on protocol number 3, but I'm gonna say I'll just give you a call periodically to touch base. And then I'm gonna send you an email once a month with information about the market in your area, so thus neighborhood news that we did yesterday. Is that gonna be okay? Yep, great. What email address would you like me to send it to? And then, boom, you're good, because you got their phone number, right? So Ronnie, where you said you don't have email addresses, that's how you're gonna get the email address. You're gonna call the people and say, great, let me get your email address so that I can get you set up on this. Now, what if they say no? What if they go, yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that? Okay, yeah, in fact, you're more than okay with it. I'm happy if they tell me that.
Yeah, because now you know that they're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I had
Somebody
a,
that's gonna be useful to you, really.
yeah, I had a guy in my neighborhood that I called him up to do this early on when I started doing this. And I said, his name is Jay. And I said, hey Jay, I'm putting together a select group of people. I want my business to be primarily by referral. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? And he said, well, I would refer people to you, but like if I was gonna sell, I wouldn't feel comfortable working with you. And he said, just because of our friendship. And I said, okay, but you would refer people to me? And he said, oh yeah, for sure. And I said, good enough. Okay, I'm gonna put you on this select group of people. I'll send you an email once a month. Then I'm gonna just give you a call periodically to touch base to see if you have any questions. Okay. And then he referred his family members to me. He'd call, hey, my sister-in-law needs to sell her place up in Ogden. Went and listed her place. Like, he referred people to me. Well, funny thing is, I ran into him a couple years ago, and I mean, I'd run into him all the time, but just, right after I had taught this class, like the next day I saw him, and I was like, hey, Jay, I talk about you in my class that I teach. And he's like, for what? And I said, well, because remember when I called you years ago and asked you if I could put you in this select group of people and you told me that I could, but you would never use me as an agent. He's like, I never said that, I would totally use you. I promise you, he said he wouldn't use me. But notice it's changed, like to where he went from I wouldn't use you to I would. So I had one other guy that I heard was gonna be selling, and I called him and was like, hey, I wanna help you sell your house. I heard you're gonna be moving out of the neighborhood. And he's like, yeah, my problem is like doing business with friends, I found it doesn't work out real well. And I said, well, great, because if you list your house with somebody else, we're not friends anymore, so we're good. I did say that to him, by the way, and he did list with somebody else still.
I think there's another one too, I think there would be like like beyond like you're just friends would be like, I don't wanna hand you over that much money, like,
I
don't know.
never had that.
Never?
But if you did, then I would say, great, go get your real estate license and I could pay you more then, but I never had that. If somebody says that, then,
I don't know if
That's
they-
fine.
I don't know if
Like,
they
I
would
don't really
say
care.
that aloud though.
oh, yeah, I don't really care either way. So,
That's-
okay.
I could've used this cuss this morning, man. I reached out to my banker in Park City, and I know she just bought a home, but she's got a good Jamaican presence in Park City, which there's a lot of, and they're buying homes there. I didn't know what to really say. I just told her, introduce myself as an agent, and recently, well, I guess I can call
Go
her
back, yeah,
and
go back.
just-
And just say, hey, I don't know why I didn't talk to you about this before, but I have a select group of people
Yeah.
that I stay in touch with about real estate. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? And she'll say yes, guaranteed.
Definitely.
So, okay, so that's permission with people you know. What about permission for people you don't know, which would be the one like that? But let's just say that I'm out door knocking, okay? So I go and I knock on Taylor's door. Hey, my name's Russ, so tell me no. My name's Russ, I'm with Century 21. We just listed your neighbor's home, blah, blah, blah. Who do you know that wants to move in the area?
Oh, I don't know anyone.
And how about you? Have you thought about buying or selling?
No.
No, no plans? Really? Okay, how long have you lived here?
10 years.
And then I'm gonna do this all, where'd you move from? How'd you happen to pick this area? If you were to move, where'd you go next?
Oh, I'd go to the mountains.
Okay, so when would that be?
Probably 3 years.
No, do longer than that.
10 years.
Yeah, there you go. But even 3 would be okay, actually. So let's say you said 3. Okay, well, hey, that's awesome. I've got a select group of people that I just stay in touch with about real estate. And what I do is I would be sending you an email once a month so that you could know what's going on in your neighborhood with the properties, like how much they're selling for, that kind of stuff. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay?
You want me to say yes or no?
Yeah, say it, yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause-
that'd be great.
Most of the time they'll say yes,
Yeah.
even if it's just to get you off the doorstep, which is why I said early on you're gonna churn over, because sometimes they'll say yes just to get me to leave. But so she says yes, great. What email address would you like me to send the email with the properties that are selling in your neighborhood? That she's gonna tell me, and I'm gonna go, great. And then I also would just wanna give you a call, and with somebody I don't know at all, I'm gonna probably say to her, I'll just give you a call once a quarter, just to see like, hey, are you getting the email? Do you have any questions? Is there anything I can help you with? That way I can kind of help you get prepared for 3 years from now. So what would be the best phone number?
No.
So she gives it to me, I go, perfect, okay, I'm gonna get you set up on that probably tomorrow, so watch for an email tomorrow. And then I will actually give you a call in just a couple days, just to make sure you got it, because I wanna make sure I didn't type the email address wrong or anything, is that okay?
Mhm.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, boom, I'm done. There, so there's permission, now I just got another person. So now I'm gonna go back to the office, I'm gonna get her set up on Neighborhood News, I'm gonna wait a couple days, I'm gonna call ring ring.
Hello?
Hey, Taylor, this is Russ with Century 21 Everest, I talked to you a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah, hi Russ.
Hey, I got that set up, I just wanted to make sure you got the email.
Oh, yeah, I did get that email, so informative. I didn't know that my neighbor Alan is selling his house.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'll be sending to you, and just know, like, if at any time you have any questions that you want about real estate at all, anything, just call me, that way you don't have to worry about other agents bugging you and stuff.
Okay, will do.
Okay, and then I'll just check with you probably in a couple months and just make sure that everything's still good, okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, bye, click, then I'm gonna go write a thank you note. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, here's a business card. The reason I'm doing that is I wanna have as many of touches kind of early on as I can with her. So I'm gonna then send that thank you card so that we talked, then a couple days later, I'm being brought back to the top of mind. And then hopefully within a week, she's getting that card in the mail, top of mind again. And then I probably would call her again depending on how she was interacting with me, I maybe would go 2 months before I called her again. If she had acted like she didn't remember me, I would probably call her in a month. Just be, hey, just checking in, I wanna make sure you're still getting that. Did you, and I might even look at the properties and be like, hey, you mentioned Alan, his house or whatever, and did you see that it's now under contract or something like that. But after that, every phone call is just gonna be ring, ring, hey Taylor, this is Russ with Century 21. Just checking in to see if you had any real estate needs that I can help you with. Have you heard of anybody that I should be talking to? Nope, okay, well if you do, just let me know, I appreciate it. Now, here's what I'm gonna do though. Now watch where some of the magic of this comes in. Let's say that a few months later I call her and I say, hey, have you heard of anybody else thinking of buying or selling? And she says, yeah, I actually might know somebody. I kind of forgot that, because they will early on, they'll be like, I kind of forgot about you as an agent, but I was talking to a neighbor that said they might want to sell. And I'm gonna say, well, would you be okay if I got the number from you and I'll call them and let them know you referred me? I don't know, because they still don't really know me at that point. So she's like, I don't know, let me talk to them. Appreciate it, that's awesome. So I'll give you a call next week just to see if you were able to talk to her if you have any questions, okay? She says, yep, okay. As soon as I hang up the phone, I'm gonna run over across the street here. There's, oh, you can't see it with the trees. There's a Cold Stone over there, or you could go to Starbucks, whatever. I'm gonna go run to Cold Stone, buy a $15 gift card, sit down, I'm gonna write her a, hey, I appreciate you thinking about talking with your neighbor about me. I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. Go get an ice cream on me, mail it to her.
You're doing that to her, you're not doing that to
I hope I am doing that to
her.
everybody.
$15 to all 200?
Or well, every time she gives me, it tells me she's got a referral. I'm not gonna do it every month.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
okay.
only doing it when she
Okay.
says to me,
Gotcha.
yeah, I might know somebody. See, think of it as I'm trying to just train the behavior that I want. Because if I send her a card for saying, hey, I might know somebody, now, I'm not gonna probably do it every time she says I might know somebody, but every time she says, yeah, I'm gonna talk to my neighbor. Like, what do you think the chances are if she said I might talk to my neighbor, or I will talk to my neighbor, if when she gets this card in the mail, or I drop, you could drop it off at their house too, whatever, but I would say mail it. And then what's gonna happen, what do you think the chances she talks to the neighbor after she gets a gift card for Cold Stone?
Probably better.
Probably better than in just, oh shoot, I keep forgetting. She's gonna get that and be like, ooh, I better go talk to that person. Now, let's say though, that when I call her, she actually says, yeah, I got somebody that you should talk to. Here's the name and phone number. I'm for sure sending them some type of a $10 or a $15 gift card to something. Now, let's say I call her friend, and her friend says, yeah, you can come over and talk to us. I mean, we're not quite sure that we're going to do it yet, but yeah, you could come meet with us. Great, I go meet with them. After I go meet with them, I'm gonna go stop over here at Chili's and buy a gift card for $50. And then I'm gonna go, hey, went and met with them. Looks like they're probably gonna wait a couple months, but totally appreciate you taking the time to refer those people to me. Here's dinner on me. So now, she goes to dinner that I paid for referring somebody to me. But let's say that I go and her friend says, yeah, we're gonna sell. I list her house, put it on the market, it sells, closes. Now I'm going to Ruth's Chris and buying a $150 gift card. Thank you so much for referring those people to me. We had a great transaction. I hope they had some good stuff to say. Enjoy.
I like how it's kind of like it's almost like a buy off. Don't forget about me, you know?
Would you be willing to give
But that's just what it is.
$210 is what the math would be. Would you be willing to give $210 to somebody if you made 20 grand?
Oh, I'm not.
It works.
No, that's not what I'm.
Yeah.
In Park City, the numbers are higher, but
Yeah, well,
definitely it works.
Now-
I mean, they keep you in mind. It's kind of like training. You give treats.
yeah, that's what you're
That's
doing.
kind of what I was getting at, is that
Yeah,
you're kind of
Yeah,
like
you're training them to, hey,
giving them treats. It's
I'm
kind of
telling
that
you.
way.
So now,
Wait,
do
it
keep
really
in mind
is.
that though legally, you can only pay up to $250
$50.
for an unsolicited referral. So when you say the numbers are higher, are you meaning the list prices and the,
Well, no, like the referrals, friendly referrals or whatever, the gift cards. Some of them do that. I'm talking on the management side.
Yeah, okay, yes, but this, from the real estate as a licensed agent, you can only pay up to $250, but
Right.
But I'm telling you, you do that to somebody for referring somebody to you, pretty soon they're like,
Yeah.
hey, the husband and wife are at dinner, like, who else do we know that's singing and buying or selling? I wanna go to Ruth's Chris again and have Ruth pay for it, like,
Seriously,
Yeah, that's for real.
yeah.
so, now, remember, the law is for an unsolicited referral, so if they call you on the phone and are like, hey, are you gonna do that every single time? You gotta say, legally, I can't answer that question. Like, and so, just keep sending referrals, so, like, I mean, you gotta be careful on it because you can only pay up to $250 for an unsolicited referral. So you can't call these people and be like, hey, for every referral you give me, I'll give you $250. Now, all of a sudden, you can't pay them at all, anything. So don't ever say that. But you can train the condition them that, hey, every time I call Russ and give him the name of somebody thinking of buying or selling, we're going to Cold Stone or Starbucks or whatever. Does that make sense? So, all right, so that's good. Are we good on permission?
Yes, can we take a short break?
Yeah. How long do you need?
5 minutes?
5 minutes good? Okay, 2:48, I'm starting. And we'll be done probably by 3 here, just so you know. Ugh.
Looking a little tired there, Russ.
I feel like
I know, I'm out of
I feel-
condition for this.
I feel like just getting on Facebook now and being like, a $15 gift card, to anybody that brings me shit.
Yeah, you can't do that,
I
that's
know
what I'm
you
saying.
can't.
Which, by the way, we had, when I very first started, the company that I started with, before I had been there a year, they gave away the award for the Rookie of the Year. And I went up to that agent and I was like, hey, I wanna learn from you, like, what are you doing that gets you so much business as a brand new agent? She was like, I just, same thing everybody else is doing, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, one day I went and showed a property that she had shown, and it is customary to, and as I'm saying that, I'm like, is it still? I don't know. But it was then customary of like, when you showed a house, I still do this today, but if I show a house, I leave a business card there. Cause typically, like if the seller's gone, well, if the seller's there, I wanna hand them my business card so they know I'm an agent. But if they're gone out of the house, which is the ideal, I leave a card so they know, hey, the people did show up, at least at the house. But, so I was at this house, showing this house, and while the people are looking around, I'm just kind of looking at the business cards that were on the counter, and I see this particular agent's business card. So I pick it up and just look at it, and I turn it over, and on the back she had a thing stamped that said, for every referral you give to me, I will pay you $50. Cause when I first started, that was the limit, was $50. And it was stamped on there, I will give you $50. And I went back to my manager, I'm like, can we do that? And he was like, no. I'm like, well, FYI, she's doing it. So, yeah, you can't solicit it. It'd be nice if you could.
Yeah, no, I
$250
was
if you do that.
joking, yeah.
But, yeah, unfortunately, you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was some sort of research that was done where,
Come on, you know agents are out there doing it.
Oh, I'm sure they
there's
probably
agents
are.
out there that have at least a couple friends, they're like,
Yeah, probably,
keep this quiet, but I'll do this.
probably.
That's
If
what
they
I'm-
get
That's
caught.
what I'm going to do.
If they get caught, it's gonna cost them a lot of money.
I'm joking, I'm definitely not gonna, try.
Now I'll get a complaint from the division about Ronnie and I'll be like, well, I do have it recorded, that he said
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do.
I covered my ass.
Yeah, exactly. I told him not to, which, by the way, I actually, we do have a lawsuit that we're in St. George, that as part of that lawsuit, the attorney was like, do you have any recordings or material, anything that is of you telling the agents? It's a disclosure issue and they're telling them how they should handle disclosures. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, send them to me. So I sent them to him. At least that'll protect, won't protect the agent unfortunately, but it'll protect the company because it's they didn't follow what we trained them apparently.
That open house thing you sent me today,
Uh-huh.
what exactly are they needing over there, Russ?
To be honest, I didn't look that closely at it.
They just
That's
asked
what
for
I saw,
help.
let me see. Probably just wanting somebody to go hold it open. Oh, here we go, yeah, let me look at it. Oh, she says it's covered,
What was
she
it?
sent it to me, but,
Okay. No, I'd like to go through a few of them just to, get an idea of it.
oh, to just see what it's like?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could do that, just go show on Saturday. So what, my guess is just somebody grabbed it. The way that most agents do it though, I will teach you a better way to do it.
Okay.
Cause the way most agents do it is not effective. They might as well not do it.
And then the social media that Brittany shared, the marketing material,
Uh-huh.
do we just kind of plug and play, we put our stuff in there, kind of personalize it and then send it out? Is that what you recommend on the social media or anything?
Yeah, the idea is that you just take that graphic she's done and
Okay.
send it out, yeah.
I'm supposed to be getting with Brittany tomorrow
Oh, cool.
to set some things up.
Are you coming for the potluck tomorrow too?
Is there a potluck?
Yeah, we're having
I just barely started getting the emails now.
yeah, there's every Halloween, we'll do up in here in this room, we'll do a lunch and
Oh, really?
and a costume contest, and there's like
You
gift
cover any
cards and stuff.
costume?
I haven't decided yet. I usually do.
Yeah.
Last year I didn't, and I'm like, I actually had a really good idea, one that I saw on social media that I was like, oh, that one would win.
Yeah.
I just don't wanna do the effort to put it together. So I don't know, we'll see. But I hear Carrie's got a really good one that she's wearing. See if she's listening.
I am, but what did you say?
I said you had a really good costume you're wearing tomorrow for Halloween.
You know what? It's really comfy. It's just a onesie cow costume. So that's my costume.
You worked at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. And then my husband's a milkman. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay, so protocol number 2 is you gotta have permission from all 200 people that are in the database. So whether it's people you know calling and saying what I said, or if it's people you don't know, do your normal prospecting. And then once you don't, remember your primary objective is to get an appointment. If I can't get an appointment, then is when I'm gonna say, well, I've got a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? Yep. Perfect. Then number 3. Number 3 protocol. Okay, number 3 protocol is contact, I just realized I'm missing a colored pen that I wanted. Contact 1 time per month, email or mail. So I'm just doing /mail. So you can do any combination of that. And some people like to do like once a quarter, they will do an actual mailing. I still just feel like set them up on neighborhood news, have it go once a month, and you're good. In addition to this contact, the other one is personal contact, so let me say personal contact with them at least, so I'm gonna just say quarterly or less, or more, I guess, more frequently is what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to say it. I'm just gonna say personal contact quarterly minimum. So at least, you can't go more than quarterly. Like you could talk to a monthly, and in fact, that's what I would say is, like the lady that cut my hair, I pretty much went and got my hair cut every month because I wanted to see who else she had for me once a month. So her, I did monthlies. People who are real big on referring, you probably wanna call more than quarterly. But if you've got, like when I say somebody knocking on the door and they say 3 years from now, I'm probably not gonna call every month. But the closer I get to 3 years, the more often I'm gonna call. I will start, a year out, I probably would be saying to Taylor, hey, I'm gonna start calling you a little more frequently just to update you on what's going on the market so that when we put your home on the market, you're gonna be really up to speed of what's going on in the market. Is that all right? Yep, okay. But if she's 3 years out, I'm gonna contact her a bit early on. I might contact her more frequently, but then I'm probably just gonna be, once I feel like it's good and she's okay with me contacting her and stuff, I'm probably gonna change it to quarterly at that point. So somewhere between monthly and quarterly is how often you're gonna contact the people, but at minimum, you gotta be talking to them quarterly. Good? But then, like I say, the ones who are referring people to you more often, you probably wanna call more often, or if they're getting closer to them doing a deal, then you wanna, do it. Oh, let me say one other thing, since we brought up the open house thing. I do feel like, adding people to your 200, people who show up to an open house are really good people to add to the database because, and I don't think we got into this too much, but there's people who show up at an open house, 82% of the time, they will do a transaction within 6 to 9 months. So let me rephrase that. Within a year, 82% of the people will have done something real estate related, but most of them do it in 6 to 9 months after the open house. Which, that's why when I was saying, if you're gonna do an open house, talk to me before you do it, because I wanna train you the right way to do it, because the way most agents do them is a waste. They let deals walk out the door. So, okay. So we good on what to send and how often to do all that, contact? Okay. Protocol number 4. This is where I needed a different color marker. It's not here, but that's okay. I usually like to use a red marker. But it's all right, we'll use black. Protocol number 4 is when you're, in fact, actually, let me just ask it this way. So when you're calling these people quarterly, monthly to quarterly, what is the purpose of the phone call?
Get a referral or get an appointment.
Just to keep touch with them, just show that you.
Top of mind.
Okay, sort of. You guys are sort of right. But the real answer is this is counterintuitive, okay? So this is the opposite of what you would think. So you would think we're calling to try to get an appointment, because hopefully I pounded that into you guys enough, which at least Anna and I did, I know. But I'm not. I'm actually calling, looking for red. Now I haven't explained red yet, but this is how it works. So let me erase this and I'll use a blue marker instead of red. So of your 200 people that you have in your database, your assumption is all 200 are what I call green. And the reason I say green is like you're gonna get paid from them, okay? So now, even though I told you guys 200's the number, just for the ease of the math, we're gonna do it as that I have 100, okay? You still have to have 200, even though I'm doing it as 100. You'll see why I'm doing it as 100. It's just that it'll keep the math simpler for you guys to follow. Not that I don't think you're smart. Because I do. But, okay, we're gonna say that I have 50 people in my database that are green. Green is somebody who's going to do business with you or refer business to you. Let's say that I have 50 in there that are red. Pretend this is red, okay? I have 50 in there that are red. Now, you might ask, why would I have any red in there? Because red is people who are not gonna do business with you and they're not gonna refer business to you. And you might ask, well, why would I have any in there that are red? And the answer is, people lie. Like they'll tell you yes to get you off the doorstep. So you don't know for sure in the beginning who is green or red. In fact, I like to think of it as when I add somebody to this database of 200, I'm adding them and they're clear, is the way I like to think of it as. Like, I don't know what color they're gonna be, but over time they either turn green or they turn red, okay? So we could say it that way, but let's just pretend we have a crystal ball. If we had a crystal ball and we could look out into the future a year, let's say 50 are going to send referrals to us and 50 are not, okay? But we don't really know that. So we have to, our assumption, I wanna make sure I'm clear, our assumption is all 200 are green. But if we really had a crystal ball and we could get people to tell us the truth, we would find out that a number of them are never gonna do business with you and never refer people to you. Even though they're gonna tell you they will, If you could have a crystal ball to see into the future, you would notice they're not. Good? Okay. So let's say that I go do some prospecting. Let's just say I go door knocking. And in my door knocking, I come across, let's say I add 10 leads to my database. Now the truth is, I'm adding all 10 assuming that they're green or clear, either way, but I'm assuming they're gonna turn green, okay? But again, that's not gonna be the case. So let's pretend that I'm adding 10 and that if we had a crystal ball and could see into the future, we would find out that 7 of them are gonna end up being red, okay? Because that's probably not too unrealistic. So I've added 10, 3 are green, 7 are red. So now I have 57 red, 53 green. Now, I started with 50% red and 50% green, right? But what just happened here? So now, instead of 100, I have 110. But somebody divide 57 into 110, somebody do the math for me, or nobody wants to do the math, I'll do it.
Well, the numbers start becoming uneven in years.
Divide 57 into 110. Sorry, didn't get that question. Come on. Divide 57 into 110. What is it?
It's gotta be 1.9.
It's 0.51.
There we go. What was it?
0.51.
Okay, good. Perfect. That's good enough. So that's 51%. Oops, and yeah, this one is now then odd by D. This is why I'm saying we'll just use 100 instead of 200, makes it easier. So look what happened. This is the problem with an open system. In an open system, my workload went from 100 to 110. So the workload increased by 10%. So I gotta do 10% more work to get 1% less. That's the problem with an open system. That's why you don't wanna just keep adding people to the database, because if I kept doing that, this continues to get bigger and this continues to get smaller. But now, watch how, this is how you're gonna get to see the magic of this. Because this is a closed system, I can't have 110. So what do I have to do to fix it? How do I fix it? Is it too late in the day? I should have taught this in the morning. What do I have to do to fix it?
Eliminate.
How many? So I gotta get rid of 10 people. Do I wanna get rid of any of these? So instead, I'm gonna come over here and go, okay, let's get rid of 10. So, oops, not 47 there. 10 to get 47. And now, I still have 53 here. And now look what happened. My work stayed the same, and look at what happened here. Now, let's reverse that, and let's say we had I went and did an open house and I got 10 really good leads. And let's say that 7 of those ones end up being green. So we add 7, so now I'm at 60, which means that the other 3 were red, so now we're at 50. So now I'm back to 110 here, but I can't have 110, so what do I gotta do? Get rid of, and I don't wanna get rid of the green, so I minus 10 again here. And now look what happened. This is at 40%, this one's at 60%. So what happens if every month I just keep adding 10 people to this database and getting rid of 10 that are red? What's gonna happen?
It's gonna start turning into more people that are actually doing referrals for you.
Your percentages go up.
Yeah, this is just gonna continue to get the same amount of work, because I'm still at 100 here. Same amount of work, but I'm getting rid of the people who aren't referring business to me or doing business with me and replacing them with people who will. And now, this is where I said you're never gonna get it to 100%, but you could get close. But the moment you get to this, a 60-40, is when I'm telling you can start planning on a really handsome income from real estate, because 60%. Now, let's do the math on that. And let me show you why that is.
You get to stop prospecting.
Well, you don't ever stop prospecting these people, but you might stop prospecting this up here, the other areas to put people in, absolutely.
Yeah, because now you're busy with, referrals and appointments here into like another phase.
Yeah, so here's what you're looking to have happen, watch this. If I've got 200 people in my database, and 60% of them, what I wanted to get is, I wanted to get to where I have 60% of those people that are either gonna do business with me or refer business to me. So I'm gonna keep getting rid of, see, it doesn't matter who you get rid of, or sorry, let me rephrase that. It doesn't matter who you add, what matters is who you get rid of. Just get rid of the people who aren't gonna do business or refer business to you, is what you're gonna do. Now, I'll talk about how to know that in a second. But let's just say I had 60% of those people that were gonna either do business or refer somebody to me. And ideally, you want people that are gonna be referring to you consistently, right? So if I had 60% that were gonna refer to me, how many deals or referrals would that be?
120.
120, okay? So 60% of this is 120. Now, is every time somebody refers somebody to me, are they going to do a deal with me? No. You're gonna have a number of them that are either, oh, we got a friend we gotta use, or a family member, or they just decide not to, whatever. So, would you feel okay if I said 50% of those aren't gonna work out?
Okay.
So 50% of the referrals don't work out, so I now have 60 that I meet with. Of the ones that I meet with, would you feel okay if I said, and then I think this would be a worst case scenario, like if you're getting referrals, you typically do a much higher than this, but from a referral that I only get 50% of those that actually work out. You guys feel okay with that? So that would be 30 transactions. Any idea how much our average commission is at the company?
11,000.
Okay, let's just say for easy math that it's 10,000. Well, how much does that equate to in income? So don't do what I'm about to tell you, because you might make 300,000 instead of 250, I lied. I told you I wouldn't lie and then I did. But can you see, if you had 200 people that were the type of people that are like, yeah, I want to refer, like I'm great with referring people to you, that you could potentially get, if you got 60% of them doing that, that'd be 120 referrals. From that, 50% actually work out that you meet with them, and from that 50% turn into an actual transaction would be 30 deals. Now, I will tell you though, these numbers I did pretty conservatively. Like, if somebody that refers to you, once you get to this point, this is probably gonna be more like 75% that you end up doing a transaction. Because that's the fall in your lap. Like, that's somebody just calls you and is like, hey, we need to sell our house again. Okay. Now, so let me come back and we'll wrap this up and be done. The whole point of your phone call monthly is to look for the red. I'm trying to find the people who aren't gonna refer to me, who aren't gonna use me. So how do you know that? How will you know who is red? It's actually pretty easy. One of the ways is they just tell you, take me off your list. Somebody says, take me off your list, they're red. But more likely than not, they don't tell you, take me off your list, they just ignore you. Yeah, so you call, and once you have permission, it's okay to call and or send a text message. But if they don't respond, so like if you sent somebody a text message, hey, I just wanna make sure you got the email, do you have any questions about real estate or anybody that I could help? They don't respond. If I get that 3 months in a row, on the 4th month, I'm gonna either call or text and say, give me a call, I've got a really important question for you. If they call me back after that and say, hey, yeah, you said you had a really important question. What's my really important question?
Do you have any referrals?
Nope, close. But I'm just gonna say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you're still okay with me keeping you in this select group of people. Are you finding value in the emails that I send? Yep. Are you okay with me texting you like I have been quarterly or monthly or whatever it is you do? Oh yeah, that's fine. I just didn't have anybody that was thinking about buying or selling. Okay, no worries. Hey, if at any time though, you feel like you don't wanna be on this list, just let me know. Okay, now, that's the difference. If you're calling looking for an appointment or looking for green, you would feel bad if somebody says, take me off your list. But if the whole idea is to try to find the red, like that's your objective, is I'm calling, texting, whatever, to try to figure out who I can put a sticker on or change. Probably that's a better way of saying is instead of put a sticker, I wanna change them out of my system. I wanna get rid of the 5 and hopefully put a 3 in. So that's why, once you figure out, hey, I've been staying in touch with these people for a year, they've been great, but they've never sent me a referral, you're gonna ask yourself, do I wanna keep them in? You might be like, yeah, I like them, and I don't mind calling them, great, keep them in. But if 2 years later, they still haven't sent a referral, you might start to go, do I really wanna keep them, or should I replace them with somebody else? And you get to decide, it's your business, but that's how you're figuring out who is red, is I'm just looking at it as, are they doing business or referring it to me? And if after a couple of years they hadn't, you probably ought to get rid of them. And the good news is, some of those people, when you get rid of them, a year later they decide to buy or sell, guess who they call? You, even though you haven't called them for a year, they still call you. So this will work, it's the math, like this is the secret to it, is create a closed system. Get good at getting rid of the people who are not gonna refer business to you or do it with you. And anybody you replace them with is better than somebody that's not gonna send some people to you. So to begin with, anybody that will go in is great, but over time, what happens is you start to get really good, solid people in there. Then you really have to start to ask yourself, is this person that I just met better than the other 200? And if they are, put them in, get rid of somebody. If they're not, don't put them in. Because if they don't feel like they're gonna be better, don't add them. So that's how you know if they're red. So keep in mind, you want to find the red. You're calling trying to find the people who you can get rid of. Now, you don't wanna convince them to be red, but if at any time I feel like they aren't excited to talk to me, I'm just gonna say, hey, Ronnie, are you still okay with me calling? Okay, great. If at any time you feel like you're not, please let me know. See, if you wanted to find green, you would never do that. But when I wanna find red, I'm like, hey, if you ever decide you don't like it, that's great. And he's gonna be like, are you kidding? I love the gift cards you send to me when I send somebody. Okay. Then we're great. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions?
It's funny that you can give them something, but you can't advertise it.
I know.
You can give them something.
It's welcome to real estate.
Ronnie's all got the wheels turning.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
All right, any questions that I haven't answered? Are you gonna do it? Can you see though how it would work? Or are you like, I'm not even gonna try?
No, I can see why, I absolutely can. I can see why people don't though too, because they see that. I think it's like you explained at the beginning, they see that gap of like time when there's not much productivity.
So they just quit doing
And
it.
then they just don't do it because they're like, oh, I need a deal now,
Well,
or I need money now.
And even just keep in mind, when you're calling to get permission, if you look at their name in your phone and you don't wanna call them, they're red. That's fine, it doesn't matter. Just find 200 people you will. Like it doesn't, even if you're like, I don't want it to be anybody in my phone, great, then go randomly knock on doors and find 200 people that say yes. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you just, every month, you're getting rid of the people who are not responding and replacing them with anybody. Anybody is better than the person who's not gonna refer. And then if you add somebody and figure out in a couple months they're not going to either, then you just get rid of them and put somebody else in. Like, it's just a math problem. The thing is it's just a math problem. You're just gonna keep getting rid of the people who aren't referring to you until you get a good number that will, and then you'll make a good income. It'll work. So I'll look forward to them call in 9 months to say, hey Russ, I wanna take you to Ruth's Chris because I've made so much money off of doing this.
Well, you would hope they would be calling you before that 9 months.
Well, that's
It's
fine.
working.
That's true. That's what I'm gonna start saying. Put the reminder in your phone, take Russ to Ruth's Chris if I did it.
That way you don't have to wait 9 months to get your Ruth's Chris either, man.
Exactly. Anyway,
So would
So
you,
have you ever had somebody incorporate an assistant to do this part of it, would you recommend that or anything? I mean, I don't know if you've
So-
ever run across that.
The assistant could do everything except for I wouldn't have them contact the people, like you should do that.
Okay.
Because just, that's what, at least initially, I think down the road you could get to that point.
Okay.
But I would say, if you're gonna do that, yeah, I'll work with you on it when you get there. But yeah, you could do that, yes. But I feel like initially getting it going and running, you need to do it. Once you've got it up and running and it's going pretty consistent and the people know you, I think could hand it off to an assistant of have them call and say, hey, Eli wanted me to call and just make sure that things are good, you're getting the emails, do you have anything that he can help you with? So you could.
Cause we do that on the management side, and I've got someone that puts it like in an Excel and then writes down the responses, like, you know, in red, like definitely no, or, you know, hey, call back in a month, or they're gonna sell their property in a year, or whatever.
Yeah, you could do it, I just feel like while you're building that relationship, it's better if it's you, but.
Yeah, and it's good practice right now.
So what if it's like a couple?
Oh.
Handle that as like 2 contacts or 1 contact?
So it's a good question. I never really feel like I for sure have the this is how you should do it answer. It's more of how I feel in the moment. I think every time I answer this question, I kind of do it both ways. But I would say, I think to begin with, counting them as 2 is the way to do it. Just because they may or may not, depending on the relationship, may or may not share with the other one that, hey, Russ called me today. But, so when I first started doing this, I always did this as, I didn't do any mails, it was all, or emails, it was all mail. And when I would mail them, I always did it to both. And then just when I called, I tried to alternate calling one month. So that's the other option you could do, is I would get them both set up on an email, and you could count them as 1 and then just alternate who you call so that it doesn't feel like, that works, yeah.
Okay.
But if they had like 1 email address between the 2 of them, for some reason, I would just count it as 1, But I think it's a good idea to send the email to both, because the one might be looking and thinking because haven't told the other one that they're getting divorced, but you never know. Hey, I'm calling you because I haven't told my spouse yet, but we're getting divorced and I want to be prepared, so. I mean, you'll get some of those.
Yeah, it's happening.
So anyway. Okay, look forward to hearing from you in 9 months to be saying, you got a baby on the way or something. Just kidding. That's not what I wanna hear. I wanna hear, I did it, it worked, thank you. Cause nobody ever calls me to say I didn't do it.
I mean, it's gonna be obviously all 200 people, you can sift through, but all 200 people will actually send referrals, I don't think that'll ever be.
No, that's what I'm saying,
That's
you're
why
not,
it's constantly,
well, that's why I'm saying,
Shuffle
but if
around.
you can get to 60% you'll be good.
and people might say, hey, yeah, I will, but they may not either. So, you know, just so it's like, you might not know how much actually is working for you, but at least you've attempted to sift through.
Well, but you'll figure it out, like over time, you figure out who is and who isn't, and then the ones who don't, you just, and you don't have to call them and say, I'm not gonna call you anymore. Like, I had one agent that would do that, she'd send an email that would say, you haven't responded, so I just wanna let you know I won't be calling you anymore, and she would get them calling her back, no, sorry, I just been busy and I really like that information. For me personally, I just always just quit, I just quit sending to them, quit calling them. And then generally what would happen though, like I say, I would get some of them that would call me 6 months, a year later and be like, are you still doing real estate? I'd say, yeah. Oh, I just hadn't heard from you for a while, but we need to sell. Okay, I'll be right over. So,
But you would unsubscribe them from the neighborhood news?
I mean, you could, the way I was doing it when I was really doing this was all mailing, so I just quit mailing to them. But the email, you could leave them on that, but don't count them as part of your 200.
Okay.
Don't, like what I don't, cause if you count, My fear in always saying, yes, it's okay to leave the email on, is then it goes from being a closed system to an open system and then now it won't work. So. But I do think it would be fine to just leave them on, but then like in your database where we had groups, I would just not have them in, create a group in Moxie Engage that's called select group of people or something. And make sure you only have 200 there, and if you take those people out, just take them out of that group, but you could leave them on neighborhood news. Cause yeah, they might call you then and be like, hey, we wanna sell, so I'm okay with that, just don't call them. That's what I'm saying. Alright. I'm getting a call from another broker, so I guess class is over.
That's over.
I called her at lunch, she was like, I need to talk to you, so. Okay, so have a good one,
Have you
thanks for
chosen-
being here all week.
Have you chosen a
If
team yet?
you are